Hey, welcome back. So today we are starting part two of our hot air balloon painting, and we will start today with the hot air balloon. We will be using our yellow brush and white. We're going to start with white. I'm going to roll the yellow brush sideways in the white, making a point. And the best way to make a circle is going to be, we're going to go about this high from the top of the circle. The best way to make a circle is to go from inside the circle and push out. And then come back out inside the circle and push out. A little bit more paint. I don't want to put my balloon smack in the center of the canvas. And just keep pushing it outward like this, dragging the paint from the center out. And as you do this, the balloon will grow and grow and grow. So start small to make sure that you have room for it to grow. Because if you start big, then it's just going to get huge. We have is that if you mess up, like you sneeze or something, this is dry, so the mistake will come off with water. So you just need to get your flat brush, get it wet, and just use it as an eraser to erase whatever mistakes are happening. So I'm going to work on it some more. I'm going to try to make sure it's a circle, and then I'll be right back. And I'm going to go to these spots right over here on either side of my circle and kind of pull them in like almost in a triangle, like that and like that. And then flatten out that bottom. And then you're going to fill that in as well. Slight curve up like this. Leave a gap between the balloon and the basket, but basically follow that little curve and just continue down with another little line at the bottom of the basket. So say you kind of messed up the basket and maybe a stray white line went into your sky. Get this brush wet, the red brush, get it really damp, kind of squeeze out the water, and then use it like an eraser. While the paint is still wet, you can edge around your basket like this and erase any little extraneous marks that you don't want. So for trees, we're still going to use the red brush with the sharp edge. And this time we are going to mix some dark green and some brown, mostly dark green though. Dark green, a touch of brown, and we're making a really, really dark green like that. Front side, back side to load your brush. And now we have to make some big decisions. Where do we put these trees? So in this painting, they're on the right side, but you can put them anywhere. You can put them along the whole valley. I'm using the edge of my brush, and I'll just kind of make a straight line. The best way to do this is to continue using the edge of the brush. And you can start at the bottom and just make short little strokes with the edge of your brush like that. You can curl the branches down a little bit like this. But what I'm doing is I'm creating layers, and I'm making sure that there's gaps and spaces between the tiers of branches here. And they're not always perfect. And that's the other thing, is they have to get smaller and smaller and smaller to the top so that they practically disappear, and on a very fine point. Okay, I've got my trees placed. I want to clean up this edge right here where the hill is sitting in front of the tree. So we want to make sure that this top line is fairly smooth, and right now I have bits of tree over it. So I'm going to revisit my lime green and yellow. I'm still using my little red brush, I just washed it, with some white. make up that apple green color again. And I'm going to come over here, make sure that any mistakes you're covering up, they should be dry. And then reestablish that clean edge. Cleans everything up, makes it look like the hill is in front of the trees, so you don't have to worry about how they end at the base. You can always add a little bit more highlighting. And the same on this side. There. And I kind of diffuse the bottom of my line here because I don't want to have any sharp lines there. Just kind of diffuse it like that. Okay, so sectioning up the balloon, that is going to be our next challenge. And it will take a little bit of planning and doing because there's kind of the right way and a wrong way. So I sketched it out first just to practice on this piece of paper, and I wanted to show you on this diagram that the front two sections are the biggest because they're facing us. And any 3D object like this that turns and has a round shape, all the sidelines are going to recede and get smaller and smaller. So you're going to use a pencil and draw a very, very faint straight line and down the center of your balloon. And from that center line, you are going to create two parentheses, the two big sections, making those sections slightly bigger than the rest, and making sure that the curve of the parentheses is exactly matching this curve, the outer curve of the balloon. And every subsequent set of parentheses, or in other words, lines, they're going to get narrower than this first one. It's going to get narrower, but it's still following this curve. Sketch it out on top of your balloon, which should be dry by now, with a pencil. I did it on mine. Here it is. And I'll see you guys in a minute. We are ready to trace the outlines you've created. Keep in mind that fewer sections means less work and less headache. But we are going to use our red brush again with the red handle, or the tiny brush, the detail brush, which is orange. It kind of is up to you. Now the idea is to make those lines as thin as possible. So if you can get a really sharp edge on this red brush, use this. And we're going to use this brown mix here. Just a very small amount of brown. Just like tiny, tiny amount. We're going to outline each one of those lines with this. We're going to go right over the lines. Don't push hard, just get it dark enough where you can see it. Okay, so I outlined all the sections of my balloon. I did leave the outer ones unlined. Those outer ones are just white. And I'll go ahead and use the same color and the same brush to put a few lines on my basket on just one side. That will be kind of the shadowed side. I'm just kind of outlining it. You can use your tiny brush for that. And now we're going to think about what colors you want all those sections to be. Okay, we're ready to fill in our sections. I'm going to use my red brush with a really, really sharp edge, or you can use your orange brush, whatever gives you the most control. Here's my orange brush. And I'm going to start with the outer sections. I'm adding a little bit of white to my purple. And I'm going to come out here, and with the point of my brush, I'm going to start filling in that section. Okay, here's my first section. I'll get it closer to the camera. And I went ahead and overlapped the brown outline with my first color. And now we'll do the next one, this one here, which will overlap this one slightly. Okay, and I did my second section in green, and I overlapped the green right over that outline, and I'll just continue going on all the sections like that. Okay, I filled in my balloon. You may have noticed that some colors are too transparent to cover up those outlines. So for those colors like orange or yellow, I would use a little bit of white mixed in, and then they'll cover up those outlines really well. We will also be filling in this basket. It's dry and I'm able to cover it up, so I could use a combination of really any colors you like. A little bit of green. Just add a few stripes in the center, and my stripes are going to overlap the brown, just slightly, leaving some of that shadow still visible. I'll let that dry and then I'll highlight it with a lighter color. Here's a quick tip. If this area under the balloon or over the basket got a little messy, you just have to remix this light blue color, and it's just blue and white, and make sure that it's just a shade lighter than what you have on your canvas. And you can go around your basket, under your balloon, and just kind of clean up those edges so they're nice and crisp. Okay, while our balloon is drying, we will highlight the trees, and we will be using the orange brush, our detail brush. We're going to mix the dark green color with a little bit of white. You just want like a shade lighter, just enough, maybe even a little bit of yellow. Roll the brush in that little color. We're basically just going to dot, 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 like this. Dot, dot, dot. I'm going to get it closer to you guys. Dot, dot, dot. Kind of following the shape of the limbs as they overlap each other. So basically it's this motion of dotting. So let's see here. So dot, 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 but follow this general motion. Okay, so my trees are highlighted, and now we will be highlighting each section of the balloon. So basically we will be remixing all those colors plus white. So say I have this green section that I want to highlight. I will separate out some of my light green, and I will be adding white to it, lots of white. Put some highlights on the widest, along the widest part of my balloon, so right over here. And the reason for that is that's where the balloon is protruding the most, catching the most light. See right there? I'll actually use pure white so you can see it better, because it's kind of hard to see. There, that's the highlight. And we'll be doing that for every color. So in this case, it would be purple plus lots of white, more white than purple, and pure white for the yellow. You don't need to mix any yellow with it. Okay, I've highlighted all the sections of my balloon. We're also going to highlight this basket. So I'm going to pick some yellow and a little bit of white on my brush, and just using the edge of my brush, putting a couple of stripes into my basket. And you guys can actually make your basket any colors you like. So if you want to add little strings that hold the basket to the balloon, just keep in mind they have to be super thin. The blue that I have, just so it's like a little bit darker than the sky, and my sharpest brush, or even your orange brush, and just sort of place a line like this on the outsides, and maybe a couple in the middle, like that. You don't need much, you just need a hint of something there. And that's it, that's our painting. I'll see you guys next week.